It all started on a quiet summer afternoon. I was playing with my friends in the neighborhood when we stumbled upon an old abandoned house at the end of the street. The house stood tall and imposing, with peeling paint and broken windows. We were all curious and decided to explore it, despite the no trespassing sign on the front door. As we stepped inside, a chill ran down my spine. The air was musty and thick, and I could feel a sense of unease wash over me. My friend seemed unfazed and continued to explore, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that we were being watched. We made our way through the decrepit living room, with old furniture covered in sheets and cobwebs. In the corner, I could make out a figure standing still, facing the wall. My heart started to race, and I wanted to turn and run, but my friends kept urging me forward. As we reached the staircase, I heard a soft whisper coming from the figure in the corner. It was a woman's voice, but it seemed distant and ethereal. My friends didn't seem to hear it, and I started to doubt my own senses. But as we climbed the stairs, the voice grew louder and more desperate, as if pleading for help. At the top of the stairs, we found ourselves in a hallway with multiple doors. We cautiously opened the first one and found ourselves in a room with a crib in the corner. The atmosphere in the room was heavy, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something terrible had happened here. We quickly moved on the next room, which was much darker than the first. As we stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind us, trapping us inside. Panic started to set in, and my friends and I frantically tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Suddenly, we heard the same whispered voice from earlier, but this time, it was right beside us. I turned around to see a woman hovering behind us. Her skin was ashen and translucent, and her eyes were dark and hollow. I reached out a hand towards me, and I could feel the coldness seeping through my body. I screamed, and suddenly the door flung open. We ran out of the room, down the stairs, and out of the front door, not stopping until we were far away from the house. My friends and I never spoke about that day again, but it stayed with me, haunting my dreams for years to come. As I grew older, I became more curious about the abandoned house and the ghostly figure we encountered. I did some research and found out that the woman we saw, named Sarah, and she had lived in the house with her husband and young daughter. One day, her husband returned from a business trip to find Sarah and the daughter brutally murdered in the upstairs bedroom. It was believed that Sarah's husband was responsible, but he had fled the country and was never found. From that day on, Sarah's spirit was said to be haunting the house, desperate for someone to help her find peace. As I read about her tragic story, I couldn't help but feel an unease of guilt and sorrow for not being able to help her that day. Years went by, and I eventually moved away from the neighborhood. But every now and then, I would think about Sarah and the abandoned home. One summer, I decided to go back and see the house one last time before it was demolished. As I approached the house, I could feel a sense of unease creeping up on me. The house looked even more deteriorated than before, and I wondered if Sarah's spirit was still trapped inside, searching for closure. Hesitantly, I stepped inside, feeling an unease of familiarity and dread. As I made my way to the staircase, I heard the same whispered voice calling up to me. This time, I felt a pull towards it, as if Sarah was trying to communicate with me. I followed their voice to the room where we first encountered her. The crib was still here, covered in dust. And then I saw her. Sarah stood in front of me, her eyes filled with sadness and longing. She reached out a hand towards me once again, and this time, I didn't scream or run away. I listened as she told me her story and how she was trapped in the house, unable to move on the afterlife. I could feel her pain and sorrow, and I knew I had to help her find peace. I gathered my courage and went to our local authorities, telling them everything I knew about Sarah's tragic history. With their help, Sarah's spirit was finally put to rest, and the house was demolished. As I watched the house crumble to the ground, I felt a sense of closure and peace. Sarah's spirit was finally at peace, and I knew she was grateful for my help. From that day on, I never saw or heard from Sarah's ghost again, but I knew her story would stay with me forever. To this day, I still wonder if Sarah's ghost will ever haunt anyone else who sets foot in that abandoned house. And although it was a terrifying experience, I am grateful for encountering her, as it taught me the power of compassion and the importance of helping those in need, even in the afterlife.